Well, you know what? We're having this call and you're wondering to yourself, like, why are all these guys on this call and why am I watching it? Well, we're glad that you're hanging with us for a little bit. Uh, my name is Bubba, and I'm a pastor at Resurrection Church, and I have the honor and privilege of hanging with these guys. And today we're going to be sharing with you a little bit about this upcoming Advent season. In fact, we're doing a series called Make Room, Advent with Friends. And it is a series where actually there's a number of churches working together, where we're collaborating and working together. So we thought it'd be fun to first start out by letting you have an opportunity to meet everybody who's going to be a part of this series. And so I'm going to just kind of go in order of how the Zoom is set up on my screen. And I don't know if it'll be the same for you guys or not, but how about we start? Pete, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Pete Elliott. I'm the associate pastor at Resurrection Church in Tacoma, Washington. I'm handle things from hospitality to youth ministry and then even preaching occasionally. And so I'm just really excited for the Advent sermon series. And I'm going to be talking on the concept of making room for his presence out of Revelation 3.
Nice. It's going to be great. Sean, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Sean Williard. I'm in Olympia at Harbor Church. I'm the lead pastor there. Harbor is a smaller church than you guys are going with, but we're in the South End, and I'm super excited to share this sermon series with you all. I'm preaching on make room for God's mercy. We see in Exodus 34, Exodus 34, 6 and 7, most quoted verse in the Bible by the Bible. Is how God introduced himself. He says, I'm your God who's merciful and gracious. And so in Revelation 5, we see the lion-like lamb who was slain, the lamb of the world who takes away the lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. He's the one we're focusing on. So I thought that's a great image in the book of Revelation. It'd be great for us to make room for his mercy during this Advent season.
Nice. David, what do you got going on?
Yeah, David Lee here. I'm the executive pastor at Trinity West Seattle. I've been here in the building for a little over 10 years. And yeah, I'm really excited about this Advent series with the rest of you guys. And I'm actually going to be preaching on Make Room for His Glory, looking at Revelation chapter 1 through the lens, through the eyes and experience of John, seeing a vision of the resurrected and glorified Christ. And so we're going to look at all of the symbols that he uses in Revelation 1 about who this Jesus is, and in anticipation for Christ to come again. So I'm excited.
Nice. I'm picking up on a theme, right? Revelation, Revelation, Revelation. And so that's going to be exciting. I have never personally been in a series during Advent through the book of Revelation. And have you guys ever gone through Revelation for Advent series before?
No.
Nope. So this is going to be a first for all of us. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Drew, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, I'm Drew Dawson. I'm the city pastor of Resurrection Church here in Gig Harbor. I'm actually sitting in the sanctuary, which will be our new worship space in a couple of weeks. So Joel, you don't maybe know this yet. The week you preach for us here at Resurrection will be our first week in this space, worshiping.
Nice.
So I'm super
glad I can inaugurate it for you.
Yeah. I'll be preaching on the idea of making room for his life from the passage in Revelation chapter 7, where John sees a vision of the vast multitude of every nation, tribe, and tongue coming together, worshiping the Lamb who is at the center, who is shepherding his people. And it says that they neither hunger nor thirst, nor will the sun strike them. So really thinking about this idea of how do we reach into our future reality and bring that life of Christ into here and now.
Nice.
Better watch out. You're going to start preaching, Drew.
I know. I feel like everyone started preaching. I just went with the little tiny title of what I was doing.
This is what happens when you get a bunch of preachers on a call together, right? The first guy goes like a minute. The second guy goes a minute and a half, then 2 minutes, and so on and so forth.
So Joel, let's hear your whole sermon.
Yeah.
No, no.
What are you going to do, Joel?
My next, okay. So I'm Joel. I am the lead pastor at Trinity in West Seattle, and some of y'all down in Resurrection Church in Tacoma were around when I was an associate pastor there, but then many of you probably weren't and have no idea who I am, but we're really grateful and indebted to Resurrection Church. And I'm excited to come back there and preach for the first time since 2020, which is just bonkers that all that time has gone by. And what am I saying? Oh, I'm supposed to tell you about the sermon that I'm doing. So I am preaching on make room for his. I'm like on the opposite end of Sean in some ways. This might be a little bit of a window into my personality. I'm doing make room for his judgment from Revelation 22. And I think that judgment is one of the most difficult, but maybe repelling things to most people in our culture these days. And yet it's the way that the Bible ends, and it's a celebration. And so there's something good about judgment, and there's something good about Christ as our judge. So let's find out what that is. That's really what I'm interested in.
Wow. Man, this is going to be exciting. We're hitting all these like deep themes of Christ that really do kind of point us in mind, heart, and spirit into the Advent season. And maybe for some people, maybe they don't really understand like what the point of Advent is, right? And so, Joel, I always love to hear you talk about Advent because I think, you have done such a good job over the years of being an advocate for Advent. And so why don't you maybe just tell us a little bit about it and why you're so passionate about it?
Yeah. I think my wife, Emily, was the one who dubbed me the Advent ambassador. So I'm very proud to wear that badge. I remember having staff meetings with some of the Resurrection Church guys, and Peter's like, Advent, Advent, Advent. And we're like getting all excited about it. Advent it's a word that's coming from a Latin word so it's a little bit of a weird word for us, but it just means arrival. And it's both a celebration of Jesus's first arrival in his incarnation and in the gospel, the side of the gospel that is his life, his death, and his resurrection. And then Advent is also an anticipation of his second arrival, that we know that the story didn't end with the resurrection, but that he ascended into heaven. He's ruling and reigning over all of human history, and he will return to judge the living and the dead and to make all things new. And that is what we get excited about Advent, is like, because God was faithful in fulfilling his promises through Jesus the first time, we know that all that we're waiting for him to finish and make whole and complete and beautiful is for sure going to happen. And so it's a time filling our hearts with hope and trust in God that I personally don't experience any other season of the whole year. And the thing that's awesome about it is that we're living in a culture that loves Christmas, loves at least some idea of Christmas. And we're at a time where people are kind of open to exploring who Jesus is and what he has done, at least in some way, and definitely in ways beyond what they're normally excited about or interested in. And so I love Advent as a time to introduce people to Jesus or to just grow deeper in our hope, because hope is really what fuels us in what Revelation's talking about, which is perseverance. What does it look like for the church to persevere through all kinds of difficulty and hardship into the future that God has for us?
That's so good.
If I can jump in too, what excites me, just to piggyback on what you're saying, Joel, about this Make Room series, is we're remembering God with us. And it seems so often around the holiday season, we get caught up with busyness. There's not a lot of hope, joy, love, and peace in our world, in our lives. And so I love the thought and the call of saying we need to be intentional to make room to remember God with us, and that God will come again. So I'm super eager for our church to press into that and to think about, how am I making room for Jesus? We don't want him to be outside, there's no room for him in the inn. Well, let's make room for him in our hearts, in our lives, in our approach to this season, and remember the hope that we're supposed to have, thinking about God with us who came and the God who will one day come again. So I'm really eager for that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to give away too much about what I'm talking about with presence, but I think a big theme, the idea of making room, is that in my text, Jesus is at the door knocking and saying, I want to come and eat with you. And the people aren't eating with him because they think they are dependent on themselves. There's a certain self-dependency with the church that John's talking to. And Jesus is like, I'm here. I'm ready to meet with you. I'm ready to eat with you. I'm ready to be present with you. And really what the part is, hey, make room for me. Let me in. And you'll see that as you spend time with me, as you sit in my presence, you'll see yourself becoming more and more like me. And so that's where I think with Christmas, it's so easy to know it's about Jesus, and to know Advent is a time where you're supposed to be making room for Jesus in your heart. But so often the busyness, the consumerism, the focusing on your calendar and your schedule takes you out of actually using it as a formational time to sit with Jesus in his presence, and allow him to minister to you, that he is the King who came to save us and to ultimately draw us into greater life, which is the culmination we're going to be talking about in Revelation.
I like that, man. It made me think about this though. How can people maybe prepare themselves for the Advent season? Like Drew, what would you say to that? Like, how would you encourage someone to prepare themselves, for Advent? David, I want to hear from you too. I'm curious from both of you guys. Like, how would you encourage someone to prepare themselves?
Yeah, I always think of Advent as a season of waiting. And for me, oftentimes when I need to wait for something, I reach for distractions rather than being present in the season, whether it's a moment or a longer season. And so for me, I think of the season of Advent just as kind of a personal, healthy spiritual practice, like identifying and ridding distractions from kind of my everyday routine. And so maybe that's something for people to consider in the coming weeks in the lead up to this Advent season, asking that question: what are the distractions that I reach for that keep me from waiting with eager anticipation, with eyes open, fully aware and ready for Jesus to show up, to appear? That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
It's good stuff. What about you, David?
Yeah, I mean, when I think about the whole theme of making room, and what Drew mentioned about just anticipating and waiting, is like what I think about is like when we're preparing to host someone to come to our home, for instance, right? We clean up the house, or at least we try, right? At least I try, right? We clean up the house, right? We put things in order. We're hopefully, right, wiping down some things, refreshing the bathroom and things like that. And so as I think about Advent in terms of just practically preparing, is what are some of those distractions, like Drew is saying? Is it during this Advent season another opportunity to watch how much screen time you're on? Like maybe you're disconnected a bit from social media, and you're using this time to say, hold on, let me make some space. Let me make my heart, let me make our family's heart's disposition a little bit more hospitable to invite Christ and the fullness of Christ and the anticipation of him coming, so that there will be space for us to receive him throughout the sermon series as we hear these various themes of making room.
Nice. That's good. What do you guys hoping to get out of the series? Say somebody's thinking about bringing a friend. What do you think their friend is going to experience through this series? Don't all speak at once.
I think people are going to see Jesus. It's called revelation for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the revelation of Jesus Christ. We want people to have a revelation of who he is and what he has done, but also what he's going to do. And I think that gets me pretty excited.
Like it.
And I think they'll see Jesus, and I hope people will feel the experience the character of God. Like we're sort of focusing on some different attributes of God that aren't the typical love, joy, peace, hope types of things for Advent. And so I hope we'll get this full-orbed picture, or at least a more full-orbed picture of who this God is that we worship, sent his son, and will send him again. And so I'm eager for people to see the justice of God, the mercy, the presence of God with us, how we live his life, just to see what it looks like to live in light of Jesus' second coming and underneath the care and the love of the God we worship. So I hope people will catch a glimpse of who God is, not just here's a theme that we're supposed to live in life, or we're supposed to live in love in this Christmas season and be nice to people, but who is this God who sent his son on our behalf?
I've been thinking today, just in preparation for this call, about some of the Apostle Paul's words when he starts speaking to different churches about the return of Christ, and particularly in the letters to the Thessalonian church. I think it's in 1 Thessalonians, he gives kind of this encouragement that we find in the return of Christ, that as Christians, we should be comforted and encouraged. We should be happy when we think about Christ's second arrival. And in 2 Thessalonians, he speaks of the return of Christ as a motivation for mission, that it is not a reason for us to sit back and say, well, Jesus is coming back, so it's all up to him and I don't have to. It's actually something that should put a fire in us to see more people experience the love and the life of God for themselves. And so I hope that we are encouraged, and I hope that we're motivated for greater mission through looking at the return of Christ.
Totally. What are some things that you guys do, like maybe your family does? It's like a tradition that you do every year, something fun, trying to get you in that place of, preparedness or celebration. Anybody got anything that comes to mind that you're like, yeah, this is something we always do,
We typically set up our Christmas tree on the day right after Thanksgiving. So on like Black Friday, we'll do that and bust out a couple Christmas movies. So this year might be the first year we show our 18-month-old son Charlie Brown Christmas or something like that. So we're excited for that.
It's awesome.
At least the first 2 minutes of it before he gets bored and goes, gets his.
Yeah, but it's so good to start those family traditions, right?
There's always a tension in my household because my wife and my daughters love Christmas. And so if they could, they would decorate on November 1st. And I'm always like, we got to wait till after Thanksgiving. So I respect, and we are in that tradition, Drew, with you guys. We'll set stuff up the day after Thanksgiving, but they're ready to go. They're on it all the time. For us, we just developed this tradition a number of years ago of going around looking at Christmas lights and just spending some good family time together. And so we'll drive around Thurston County, looking at all the different cool displays and spots. What's funny is that word sort of got out that I plan this route every single year. And then so families in our church and stuff are like, hey, when do you guys go? And let us know. We want to come too, or we want to follow after you guys. So I'm sort of stuck doing this thing now that was just supposed to be a fun little, hey, once we'll do this, it'll be cool. Now it's turned into a demand for Sean and the fam to go and do this Christmas light tour. But it's a lot of fun. We enjoy it. Great time in the car with the kids and my wife.
So what you're saying, Sean, is you became Rudolph for your church.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. Leading the way.
That's awesome.
Our family does something. We do a lot of little fun things like that. I mean, there's a Christmas ships. I don't know if you guys have even heard of that, but that's kind of a fun little thing. They go all around.
What is it?
They go on a ship throughout the Puget Sound region, and they go to different shorelines and sing carols.
Oh.
So we've done that for, I don't know, our girls' lives, 17 years, whatever that is. But one thing that's really meaningful to us is to read a scripture that's a promise from the Old Testament about the Messiah every night. And we have like 24 of those in a devotional. And then there's usually a carol that's associated with it. It's like the only time I can get my family to sing with me in an organized fashion in our house. But that's fun. We like that. It's just really meaningful and rich. Yeah.
That's awesome. Is that something that you like have in a Word doc or something that we could share with people that if they want to like do something like that?
Yeah, we actually printed it last year at Trinity finally, and I'll bring some physical copies with me when I come to Resurrection, but I can give you guys a PDF. People can download it for free.
Yeah, maybe let's do that. I mean, maybe when we post this, we can add that with it. And so for those of you who are watching this, I'm just trusting that by the time you see this, there'll be something attached that you can check out what Joel's talking about.
Yeah, I could actually attest to when Joel started here at Trinity West Seattle, that first Advent, he's like, this is my favorite thing to do. Our family loves it. And he introduced this Advent devotional last year. And my daughter, who's 7 years old, she has the Advent devotional on her bedside table. And last year, even after Advent, she often sings the songs that are in that Advent devotional, which is really, really cool to hear at night when she should be sleeping, but she's singing Christmas songs off season. So right now we're encouraging her to do that now as we're approaching, Advent. So yeah, I could attest to that devotional. It's effective and it works.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, our Advent tradition is a little bit, I'll do the most fun one, but every single Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving, my wife's family would watch A Muppet Christmas Carol. And when it first started happening, I was not a fan, or I was never been a fan of the Muppets. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it with you guys type of thing. And now like every single year it comes up and like now I'm starting to sing the songs and I'm starting to like get into the whole like, yes, it's Christmas Carol. It's a Muppet Christmas Carol time. And so it's always fun. Like we put it up on the projector, like my father-in-law has a projector. And so we'll put it up on the screen and pop popcorn and do that. And I'm definitely in the same boat with Sean and your family. My wife, if she could, would already have our entire house decorated. And so what normally happens is I see a couple little decorations pop up like sporadically through November where it's like, well, it's just like one little tree on the stand, or it's just the orange spice on the dried orange on the fireplace mantle. And then like by the time November 1st hit or Thanksgiving hits, the whole house is decorated. And I'm like, oh, okay. Just giving me a slow death into Christmas. Yeah.
You should just jump in, man. You don't have to wait till Thanksgiving. Just go for it, right? Just go for it.
Put the Mariah Carey on now and just sing along.
Let those who want to celebrate Christmas all the time celebrate it. Come on, guys. That's awesome. Well, hey, I want to say thanks to those of you who hung out with us for a little while. And I hope that you are encouraged and excited about this Advent season that's coming up. And we are really, really excited to be able to hang out together, to really be able to share a little bit from our churches with each other and come together as friends and build relationships and strengthen the partnership and the unity that we have as churches. And so I want to just say, hey, thank you. And we look forward to celebrating Jesus together this Advent season.